It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Thursday, June the 15th. Good morning. I have had a headache for over 12 hours. Thank you, Canadian wildfires. Everybody still with us?
Thanks, Canada.
Yeah, I'm glad I gave up smoking.
Man, who saw that coming? I guess the answer is nobody. We left here yesterday morning as I walked out of the KQ studios a little after 10, maybe 11, whatever time it was. I was like, kind of smells like smoke.
Yeah.
Kind of getting hazy. Man, by the end of the day, that was brutal.
And I can't believe I did a 10K yesterday. I'm just not sure it was. No, I didn't.
You're obsessed.
Spend much time outside. And you know what? I remember working construction briefly when I was young, and the greatest sound to wake up to, because I didn't have to get the job done. It was just a pay-by-the-hour job, was the sound of rain.
Oh, yeah.
I remember laying there going, oh, yeah, I don't have to go to work this morning. And yesterday I was like, man, I should go for a bike ride, and I don't know, I should do some exercise. It's nice out. Don't squander the summer days. Oh, it's miserably smoky out. Yay, I get to sit inside with my PS5 all afternoon.
I walked the dog. Chauncey and I stepped outside in the late afternoon, and he immediately was kind of hacking, and then I felt it in my throat, and again, I had this dull headache. And then I saw two people walking past me that had masks on, and I was like, that makes sense to me right now.
Right. Now it does.
And then the next two people I saw were joggers, just running in it. And I was like, wow, there's the entire experience right there.
Right.
But apparently by tomorrow, this will have mostly moved through. That's what I just heard someone this morning say. It's going to get better throughout the day. It's already better this morning than it was when I went to bed last night. So hopefully that's in and out, and we're done with that.
Yeah.
Whew, baby.
I feel a little weird, too. I was out last night.
Were you?
And I just had to be out. I went to the theater.
Uh-huh.
So I had to walk a little bit outside. I was coughing, but
Did you
truly
go-
beautiful experience.
What'd you see?
When you say theater, do you mean cinema, as in saw a
No.
movie, or did you go to the theater
The
to
theater.
see a play?
Yes, my friend Kelly loves the theater.
Right?
And so I went to the Guthrie Theater, and we saw the classic Whodunit, Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh, really?
Right,
Who
don't tell
did
me.
it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, I won't. But
And-
it was
and-
very, very fun.
Was it really? Is that a Hercule Poirot? Is that the?
Yes.
Is that it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Perot.
Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all coming back to me.
Yeah, it was really fun, but the night ended sadly for me because there was this sweet little they were old. They were like very old
Right.
couple, and they needed a ride. They needed a cab home, and they were trying to figure out what to do.
Okay.
And so I got them one, but I left in mine first, but I could track, and I was like, I'll track you. Like, don't worry, he'll be here in 2 minutes. And the driver totally bailed and never showed up on them. So I just hope they're okay.
How
they
the hell
hate
did they
you
get?
now.
How'd they get to the theater?
I know. Now that I think about it, it was kind of irresponsible of them. Like,
But I mean,
you know.
they're fine. They'll be all right.
Do you dress up for the theater?
Yeah, I mean, you want to look nice,
Yeah.
but it's a Minnesota theater.
It's a Minnesota night.
I know. Doesn't that make you mad, though? That Minnesotans will not dress up even to go to the Guthrie. They'll still be in like a hockey jersey and shorts.
Yeah.
But at least throw some costume jewelry on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A bauble.
Yeah, a bauble or two. What are you kidding? All right, so Candace wins the most cultured award for the day.
It was cool. Yeah, I was hating on it a little bit, making fun of her and stuff. But yeah, it's cool. I don't know. I don't really like musicals, but a play I'll do.
Okay, don't like musicals. Wow, that's anathema, man. I grew up in a house of musicals, boy.
Me too.
Let me tell you. And I was performing in musicals with the Penarol Players. My local theater group, I was in all of them. Sound of Music, Fiddler on the Roof.
Really?
Steve Gorman in
Shenandoah.
Godspell.
I wish I would have. Oh, I would have gone. Yeah, I, not a musical, but Our Town. I was in that as a kid. Yeah, a lot. You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. I mean, there's a long laundry list of embarrassing moments in my life on stage. Let me tell you what. So the bug of performance was planted early by my mom, who herself was a barbershop singer. But and speaking of performance, I got to college. I had no idea what I was going to do in life. I just went to the same school my brothers and my sister had gone to because it was an hour away, and I got a Pell Grant, and they let me in. That was literally the decision-making process for me to go to Western Kentucky University. And after I got there, starting my second year, my brother said to me, they've got a really good broadcasting school here. And I said, really? I had no idea. He goes, well, you've got a good voice and you like sports. You should probably be a sportscaster. And I was like, okay. And I declared my major that day.
Dumb.
Like someone just an offhanded comment from the same guy, the same guy who 10 years earlier would make my lunch for school and give me an onion and orange slice sandwich.
Yeah.
That same person said, you should be a broadcasting major. And I went, okay, great. And I went and did it. And then 2 years after that, I got a phone call that seemed innocent enough on the surface, but it literally changed my life. And I'm thinking about these things because I saw someone mentioning the butterfly effect. Are you familiar with that? You've heard of this thing, the butterfly effect? In popular culture, it's used to emphasize the enormous significance of a minute occurrence. Like literally, I answered the phone and my life changed. I went into this elevator instead of that one, and nothing was the same since. And you know, some people look at their life and go, I've never had anything like that. But you may have, but you just didn't even notice it because it's the phone call you didn't take. There are moments in our life that in time, yes, they're a minute occurrence, but you can look back and understand the significance. And so the two that happened to me were my brother going, you should be a broadcasting major, literally like in a commercial break during Jeopardy as we were watching it. And then a few years later, a friend from high school that I hadn't talked to in a year called me in my dorm and said, hey, do you want to drop out of college and start a band with me? And I literally, at the time he called, I was a senior. I was managing my class load. I was working. I was an RA in the dorm. I had freshmen looking up to me. I was attending class faithfully. I was a rising star in the broadcasting department. I had decided at the age of 21 to grow up and fly straight and get it right and get my crap together. And I was literally on this tear of I am an adult now and my life is perfect. And I would have told anyone that asked that I've never been happier in my life, ever. And I would have meant it. And I answered the phone. I said, hello. And my buddy goes, hey, what are you doing? I go, hey, man, what's going on? He goes, he was in Massachusetts in college. I'm in Kentucky. And he said, hey, I'm thinking about dropping out and starting a band. You want to do it with me? And I literally went, yeah, okay. And I dropped all my classes the next morning.
Wow.
I didn't think twice about it. And I found out later he hadn't even thought about it when he called me. He was like a passing thought. He'd been meaning to call and catch up, and he threw it out there almost as a joke, as just a way to get a laugh. And the next thing you know, we're both dropping out of college and going to start a band together. I never thought twice about it. And obviously, I did drop out of college. We ended up going to Atlanta instead of Boston, our original plan, and we put a band together. And then I met another guy, and then I joined his band. And next thing you know, here I am as a guy who had a band for almost 30 years. And then I went back into broadcasting. So my brother suggested I go into broadcasting. A buddy said out of the blue, do you want to start a band and look at what happens? Like all the plans I've ever made that have made sense, none of those would have ever existed or the thought had I not just taken a nudge from someone as a offhanded comment that I then picked up the ball and ran with it. It's amazing to look back on those two things. What if my brother had said, hey, you know what you should do, and then swallowed a fly and never completed the sentence? I would have dropped out of college and I'd be working landscaping.
I think the universe gives you these little pushes, and it's up to you to pay attention to it and act on it.
I think that's entirely true. And I bet there's a lot of those as we look back. If you really put just 2 minutes of thought to it, you can go, oh, yeah, right. And I can tell you there's times when I ignored my gut, and I'll never know what would have happened, but I know it would have been better than what did happen. Like when you go against your own gut, sometimes you're like, what was I thinking? Why did that scare me off when something else didn't? I'm curious about that. I mean, they call it the butterfly effect or the sliding doors effect, if you will. There's those things. Or it's just simply, when did you get it right? You know, when did luck tap you on the shoulder? I think we all have some of those.
Yeah, I think Tony's right. When you're paying attention to it, I had in a similar fashion. You know, I was getting booted out of college, which was, I didn't really go to college. I thought I'd play some football and figure it all out after my little Army thing. And I was just getting kicked out of college, and it was a phone call to Mom going, I think I'm just going to go back in the Army. She's like, oh, don't go back in the Army, Brian. You know, you always played DJ. A kid. What was that TV show you liked? WKRP? Yeah, why don't you be a DJ? Boom. Off to a radio station. That was it.
But that you had not thought to yourself, maybe I'll go check out radio.
I was
that
a
was
small
it.
Town South Dakota kid. Yeah, I had been out and about and basic training in AIT and some state and all that stuff, but I hadn't really been open to the world. I didn't know you could just be a radio DJ. I actually went to the library and looked up a broadcasting institute in Minneapolis on Lake Street and packed up the car and away I went.
That is... outstanding.
Just like
I
that,
love
yeah.
that. Yeah, one phone call.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. All right, butterfly effect. We're monarchs over here, all of us. And I'm looking forward to getting. I want to hear from you, Tony, and I want to hear from you, Candace.
Yeah.
But right now, we're going to move on. But I'm coming back to this, by God, because
All
this is
right.
fascinating
Yeah.
to me.
Share it with us. We'll get something up on the KQ Facebook page. As usual, you can call our Maple Grove Lock and Safe Talk and Text line any old time you want. Mike Evans calls it every morning at 6:30 for a Hollywood Report. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
We got a frozen situation here. KQ weather. We have a nice day today. 78 partly cloudy. 53 tonight. 82 sunny skies. Tomorrow it's going to be a nice day for the karaoke cruise. 62 tomorrow night. Let's see if this works. Nope. All right. Anyone here? Anyone else? We got the same situation that happened a few days ago, guys. Zep, are you here? Hello.
Are you there? There I am.
Hello, love.
Hi.
I'm sitting in the studio next door, just my feet up on the desk, just watching you flounder and splash around. And
You tripped over the cord again, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm
those
so
feet
clumsy.
of yours. What are we going to do? I told them they've got to embed those cords. So you have a frozen computer.
Yeah, remember this happened last week, probably
It
at
did.
the same time. One of those things.
The
that-
funniest thing is, it happened last week. And I just did the same thing I did last week. So I think it's me. and what that is I just got more coffee. So I need to be less caffeinated. This is what did we just discuss? The butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Sometimes the universe talks to you, and the universe is telling me, stop drinking so much coffee, dude. You're blowing up the radio station.
Uh-huh.
So we've got frozen computers, which is just a way of saying, let's kick it old school. We're all Paul Harvey now. We're all broadcasting out of a cornfield in Iowa or something.
That reminds me of a farmer I knew.
And now you know. Paul Harvey is a fascinating character in my life because I grew up from 6th grade through 12th grade. I went to a school where we drove. There was not a bus. It was a really small school. I got in the car with my mom or my dad every morning, and at 7:30 sharp, Paul Harvey came on the radio. And we left the house at 7:28 to make damn sure we didn't miss Paul Harvey. That
Right.
was just that was the Gorman protocol. And Paul Harvey is the man who told me that both Keith Moon and John Bonham had died.
Really?
What
Paul
a
Harvey.
guy to hear it from.
And that
Yeah.
voice. Yeah.
Rock drummer Keith Moon of The Who, like dead at 32. And then 2 years later, John Bonham, called Bonzo by his friends. It's just like the weirdest source to find out those two guys. And both times I was like, wait, what on earth? What did he say? He did not tell me John Lennon died. I was actually at a radio station that my dad was the general manager of. And I got that news from the AP ticker tape, the wire machine, in real time. And then the bells would ring. And so... my getting some bad news on my rock heroes, all coming from unusual sources. We were discussing the butterfly effect earlier in the show, and I'm blown away by the fact that your mom looked at you and said, "Don't go back to the Army. You always liked being a DJ. What's that show you liked?" You literally get the WKRP reference from your mom, and the next thing you know, you're heading east.
She really did want me to go back into the Army or ride motorcycles or play football, and I've disappointed her time and time again.
Right.
But that time, and then I tease her over the years because she would be like, "Well, now you've been a DJ. Now what are you going to do?" I'm like, "Well, no, this is it for the long haul, Mom.
Right.
I think I'm going to try and stick with this. I'm really enjoying not working for a living." And she'd be like, "Oh no, you have to do something real. I think she should just try to keep me out of the Army." And what interests me, but no, it was she just. And I hadn't even thought of it. It hadn't even entered my mind. That was when I was in middle school, I
Right.
think. Like I was 12, 13 years old. I would set up the old microphones on the tape deck downstairs with the turntable and play, Johnny, and now I'm forgetting his name. I'm
Johnny
blank.
Fever.
Johnny Fever, thank you very much. Booger. Baby. WKRP. And so it was just kind of a truck
Right.
that out, and I went, yeah, why not? I'm going to screw around. I'm getting kicked out of college for basically just being a class clown. Why not?
I dropped out of school. I told my friend I would drop out, and we would move, and we would move to Boston, and then that turned into Atlanta, and we'll start a band. And I never looked back. I didn't think twice. A month after that phone call, maybe 2 months, my older sister Susan got married in Washington, D.C. It was a big family wedding. The whole family's together. I'm the youngest of 8 kids, and I make my grand announcement 2 nights before the wedding, we're all at Sue's apartment in D.C. And, it's the first time I'm like drinking beer legally around all my older siblings. It was a cool night. I was 21 years old. Molson Golden, unfortunately.
Well,
Great weekend. And then, I went back for a Molson once as an adult, and I was like, oh, my God.
It's like, worse.
It's like when I was a kid, Moosehead was the coolest beer ever. And then I had one as an adult and was like, whoa, hey, Canada, stick to the bacon.
I did that with Lowenbrow. Just thought it was the
Sure.
Just because of the ads,
when
right?
you wanted the night to be special.
I'll take the biggest steak you got and a bottle of Lowenbrow. That commercial.
Right. The other guys all go, perfect,
They put the menus down.
Oh,
He's a genius.
Yeah, years later I grab one. Do they still sell it? Are they sponsoring the show this morning before I stick my foot in my mouth? Yeah. And just took a big swig of it, and I went, that's swell. Oh, my God.
I said to my family, hey, guys, got an announcement. I'm dropping out of school, and I am going to move to Atlanta with Clint, my high school buddy, and we're going to start a band. And just to give you an indication of how out of left field that sounded, my oldest brother, Bob, looked at me and he goes, do you play an instrument? I go, I think so. He goes, what is it? And I go, drums. He goes, huh. I mean, like literally, like that's the extent of my drumming. So much so that no one knew that I drummed. But Tony, I think you probably have a moment you can look back on in your life and go, oh yeah, that was just that same thing, like a nudge from someone or a comment, through the side of someone's mouth, and suddenly you picked up the ball and ran with it.
So many flaps of the butterfly's wings. Brian, it's funny you brought up your mom's influence. The same with me. One, I was just looking for stuff to do, and they had, she suggested, why don't you take some classes? Dudley Riggs' Brave New Workshop had them at the time in improv comedy. Okay. It's like, if you want to do that, we'll pay for it. So I did that, and it changed everything. I ended up being in an improv group. And when I was out of school and looking for work, she was always going through the papers and just cutting out articles for me. She still does this to this day. But in the want ads, she circled an ad. They were looking for a writer for a radio station. That was my first job.
Moms
awesome.
Lead us to where they know we want to go because they're really intuitive and they paid attention when we were growing up.
Yeah.
So dads always say, oh, you graduated now, son. Now you got 2 weeks to get out of the house. I suggest the Army. That was Dad's advice.
When I called my mom to tell her, actually, I drove home to tell her that I dropped out of school and I was going to start a band. I thought, this has to be face-to-face because I'm an adult. And she looked like she didn't even look up from the egg salad sandwiches she was making. She was just like, oh, honey, I'm so glad you figured out what you want to do.
That's perfect.
And I said, what do you mean I figured out what I want to do? I was a great student. I'm in broadcast. She's like, yeah, you were just doing that. I mean, she literally was like, I don't
She
care.
knew all along.
So
And now you know
and now you know
the rest of the story.
Oh, listen to that. Oh, my God. It's like a back rub. Thank you.
Good day.
And with that, it's time for the Mike Evans Hollywood Report. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, guys. How's everything going in Minneapolis, St. Paul today?
We had, you know what? All the smoke came in from Canada. And so yesterday and last night, pretty rough. It's starting to clear away now. So we're on the uptick, but it was kind of brutal there yesterday.
We had the worst air quality on the planet yesterday.
Yeah.
Wow, that's not good. Be safe out there.
We're doing what we can.
Love Nuggets. So Kevin Costner and Christine Baumgartner dated for years and years before they got married 9 years ago, and even had children before getting married. And they agreed to a prenup that if Christine ever divorced Kevin Costner, that she would get $1.2 million. So with word that Kevin may have been wandering off the reservation and some other problems, she filed for divorce recently. Kevin gave her $1.2 million and demanded she leave the house. But she argues that, well, now there's children involved, refused to leave the house. Costner is expected to be in court next week to force her to leave the house. And while Costner was worth $80 million when they started dating, he's now worth $270 million. So what do you think? Whose side do you take on this?
I don't. I've never met either person, and I couldn't possibly care less. That said, boy, if she settled for 1.2, she really wasn't. I mean, she should have known. Even with $80 million, a divorce for a prenup 1.2 seems pretty low to me.
And now she doesn't want any spousal support or anything. She wants child support, but she also wants more money. We'll see how this whole thing
Well, how old
plays
are those
out.
kids? They're not like little kids.
They're like 14, 13, things like that.
It's not like he's going to.
Yeah.
I don't think Kevin's going to abandon those kids. He'll be all right.
I don't think so. Movie news. Step aside Spider-Man, Spider-Verse. Step Aside Transformer, Rise of the Beast. The Flash is here. I'll review it tomorrow. And here's an interesting story. 81 years ago, Thumper, Butterfly. We're talking about Bambi. Huge hit for Walt Disney 81 years ago, and now Disney's going to make a new Bambi live action.
Why?
It's so sad.
I know Bambi's dead. They're going to bring Bambi back. I mean,
Let it
great
die.
movie, though. Yeah, great movie.
That's a weird one.
How about this? TV news: Netflix has greenlighted an 8-episode miniseries loosely based on a true story. It's called Daddy Ball. I remember this story. The story of two fathers, dad versus dad, war over their sons on a little league team that turns into a very violent situation. Two little boys catching, throwing, and hitting the baseball. And here you have these two dads who are small-time Long Island thugs who create an out-of-control war that destroys lives. You might remember this story. Jason Bateman will star and direct. I think that's going to be an interesting series.
Jason Bateman. That's a perfect guy. I'm on Team Bateman every time.
I love him. Odds and ends. You heard about Paul McCartney using AI to recreate John Lennon's voice.
Yep.
On the new Beatles song. Now talk that John Lennon and Yoko believe that they deserve some more money. They were looking for a little more cash in that deal.
Well, why not?
Why not? And just want to remind everybody, even before Friday, I'm giving you an extra day. Father's Day is Sunday. Don't forget Dad. And a couple of sidebars about celebrities and Father's Day. Kourtney, Khloe, and Kim Kardashian always visit their father, Robert Kardashian's grave on Father's Day. It's at the Inglewood Park Cemetery. And here's an interesting twist why I bring it to the report. Robert Kardashian is buried just a few feet from Johnny Cochran.
Isn't that nice?
Sort of stuck together all along.
There's no way there will be any photographers on hand when they go there for Father's Day.
No.
Not a chance.
Yeah, right. They'll be there an hour ahead of time.
Yep.
And there will be a huge party that is planned Sunday by daughters Rumor, Scout, and Tallulah for their dad, Bruce Willis. And Demi Moore will be there to sort of help run things, which I think is very nice.
Very nice.
Very nice. Hey, guys, have a great day. Don't breathe. Well, don't breathe while you're outside, anyway.
We're working through it. We're working through it one step at a time, Mike.
Good job. Talk to you tomorrow. See ya.
Right on. Boy, when Mike Evans went to that Bambi sound effect, whatever the hell that was, I thought maybe his computer froze up too. We've had a dramatic morning on the KQ Morning Show, Candace. Are we still in the Twilight Zone over there?
We're good. We're all set. We're on track.
Oh, you rebooted?
It's a reboot.
Man.
Kick something.
Yeah. Gave it the fawns.
I just gave it a little tickle.
That's fantastic. Candace, we've yet to hear from you on this butterfly effect story. Is there a turning point moment in your life? Is there a sliding door that slid the right way or the wrong way that you can share with us?
I mean, I don't know. I kind of made this, if we're talking about my job right now.
Sure, whatever you want.
I feel like I kind of made that happen because I was just driving around in college, and I grew up on the KQ Morning Show. So I had like always kind of wanted to be on it.
Right.
But I remember I was driving in college and I was like, I'm going to be on that show. And then I like reached out and became an intern, and then just kind of happened naturally.
But picking up that phone, making that call, or however it was, that's you know how many people drive around and think about doing that and just don't get around to doing it? A lot.
That's true. I guess when you asked that question first, the first thing that came to my mind is when I saw Black Sabbath for the first time live.
Okay.
It just kind of changed a lot for me. It was like I need to pursue my passion of rock and roll and just kind of, go to more concerts and start a band and write about rock and roll. And,
It's always a fascinating thing. I've said for years. I read this decades ago. Someone just very simply wrote "Life rewards action," and I love that. I was like, yeah, really. And so I'm kind of happily been a tumbleweed because it's like better to just if you know you're going in the wrong direction, just stop and go into a different one. And if that one's wrong too, at least it's not the same wrong direction. You'll find it. You'll find your course eventually. So I'm a big fan of life rewards action. At the same time, I also know that sometimes that reward is a bloody nose. You know, sometimes
Right.
sometimes
Yeah.
life goes, no, dumbass, you should have seen this coming. Anyway, I'm endlessly fascinated by those moments that you look back on. Again, in real time, it's a decision or it's a lack of a decision that sometimes leads to the most incredible result, good or bad or otherwise. So I don't know. It's pretty fascinating. We've got two guys on the radio show this morning who their moms were like, here you go, try this.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah,
man.
it's so moms keep spitting out that advice. It seems like they don't listen, but just someday it'll stick. It's those, we call them the college years, but whether you go to college or not, right? Just kind of that maturation from 18 into your 20s where you just start looking around and listening a little bit or looking for an opportunity instead of just kind of blindly walking into the next thing.
I was 20. I turned 21 in the summer of '86, and it was the first time I ever thought, like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to kind of get it together. Like, I looked back at my first 3 years of college like it was summer camp. And I saw students around me who were so serious and so together and moving off and getting apartments, and they had jobs and went to class and they showered every day. And I'd look at them and go, what in the world? Who adulted you?
Yeah.
Where's the fun?
Yeah, what this is did you not watch Animal House and think that was reality like I did? Oh my God, how bizarre. Well, we can look back on our own personal butterfly effects if we want. We can also look back at some other pretty significant moments. How about a history lesson? Sports history. On this day, June 15th, 1976, the Houston Astros were rained out at home in the Astrodome. The one and only rainout of the eighth wonder of the world, the Astrodome, occurred. 7 or 8 inches of rain flooded everything around the stadium, and that included the entrance ramps to the ballpark.
So, yeah, they built that big monstrosity and forgot to caulk around it.
That's what they forgot. So the field was perfectly dry, but nobody could get into the building.
Oh, is that the deal?
It's completely insane. The Astros GM at the time said, we could have played the game, but if we had announced it was on, we would have been inviting misfortune.
Yeah.
People would have drowned walking into a stadium. That would have been pretty bizarre. 20 diehard fans did manage to get into the stadium that day. And so what the team said was, well, you made it here. They let them eat. They got them hot dogs and let them eat on the field. That was like their consolation prize. Sorry, the game's not going to be played, but sit down at second base and enjoy a hot dog.
Okay.
And then, of course, shortly thereafter, the Bad News Bears and Breaking Training came along and filmed at the Astrodome, and so all was forgiven. I don't know if there's a connection there at all, but I just remember that? The sequel to Bad News Bears, and they went and played in the Astrodome.
Oh, my God. I forgot all about that.
Yeah. And then the third one, they went and played in Japan, but I never saw that one.
There was a third?
Yeah,
There was.
I do remember
Japan.
they went to Japan, yeah.
On this day in 1995, former NFL running back O.J. Simpson had trouble getting a pair of gloves on the witness stand.
Well, it's that arthritis, I think.
Boy, if the glove don't fit, you must have quit. That was on June 15th, 1995, just literally a year and a couple days after the murders. Boy, they expedited that thing pretty quickly.
Catchphrase got him off.
Oh,
Yeah,
if
pretty much.
you don't think we don't live in a marketing world, that was it right there for him. And was I the only one in America that tried on his own pair of gloves shortly after that to just see if I could do it the way OJ
Sure.
did it? And I
Yeah,
could perfectly.
me too.
We all did.
Yeah, I could awkwardly pull on, I can't get this glove on.
Shake your head.
Yeah,
We all, our Grinch hands grew the size 3 times as big that day.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Thursday, June the 15th. Good morning. So far today, now that the air seems to be clearing out a little bit and we're all getting over our headaches and sore throats from yesterday's wildfire smoke infestation. That's right. I'm calling it an infestation. I don't know if that's the appropriate term or not. We've been discussing a few things already on the show. The butterfly effect among them. Basically, what we're getting at is there a moment in your life you look back on and recognize what seemed insignificant at the time was actually kind of huge Zepp's mom looked at him and said, "You've always liked playing DJ. Why don't you go be a DJ?" Like when he was thinking about rejoining the Army. Tony's mom circled a wanted ad for a radio station looking for a writer and just handed it to you. That's great. A buddy of mine called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, do you want to start a band?" And I was like, no, yes, okay. And the next thing you know, it's 40 years later. All these things kind of happen. On the KQ Facebook post, what's an unexpected moment that happened to you? Basically what we're looking at, there's a ton of comments of all sorts, because these aren't always necessarily happy stories. They can be sad, they can be everything, but oftentimes things happen that you can't imagine would ever make sense in real time. And I just saw one, a guy named Tony wrote, "I wasn't planning to date anyone my freshman year of college. One weekend, and a friend talked me into going to a random Wednesday night house party, and then I met a girl. 18 years, 4 kids later, here we are. Turns out she also wasn't planning to date anyone." So I love that. Like, what if you had gotten to that party late? What if she got to the party late? What if neither of you went? You just never know. I stepped into an elevator in Richmond, Virginia in 1996 that went down one floor, and it opened, and my brother Jim stepped into the same elevator.
What?
I lived in Atlanta. He lived in Baltimore, and we were at the same hotel in the same elevator in another state without having any idea either of us was anywhere near there. Like, think about that. That's a weird moment, like, whoa.
Yeah.
Really? Like, what, and I've always thought, like, what if I'd gotten on the next elevator? We would have been in the same hotel and never known it.
Yeah, no kidding. That's
It's just, there's so many of these. They're fascinating.
I ran into my cousin at the Denver airport one time, just out of nowhere, and I decided to just walk by him, just give him a little wave.
Of course.
No big deal.
Yeah.
He was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. That's great. That's great. Jim traveled with his work, and I traveled with mine, so you can say, well, it kind of makes sense. You're both bouncing around a lot. But he and I did the same thing. Newark Airport, another time. We just walked right past each other. Like, that's a weird one. But these things happen, and some of these comments are fantastic. And I want to give a shout-out to Troy Hinkle, who wrote, "Diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, 2.5-year battle, 100% changed how I look at and live life, now in remission 7.5 years." Right on, Troy.
Yeah,
right.
All right.
Sometimes that butterfly effect isn't something you decided. Sometimes the universe decides something for you, and then there you have it. So yeah, keep those comments coming. That's really it's really fascinating to me always to look back. Everybody's life is a movie if you just choose to look at it that way. Like, nothing ever happens in my life. No, there's plenty happening. We all have those things.
Oh, it certainly does. I have a friend, their daughter Maddie. I constantly remind her that the only reason she's on this planet is because, well, not the only reason, but a primary reason she's alive is because of me and my luscious ways. I remember wanting to go out with my buddy. I'm like, dude, let's go out, Webby, let's hit the town tonight. And he did not want to go out that night and opted not to join me. And I got really sloppy drunk. And that was back in the day before ride shares and those sort of things. Didn't have a penny to my name anyway, so I couldn't even get a taxi. But I did know how to dial up my buddy Webby from the bar, who came down to pick me up. And while he was waiting for me to drag my butt out to his car, bumped into a lady having a cigarette out on the sidewalk over there on University Avenue. Got married and had a baby some years later, just because he had to come pick my ass up.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Isn't that nice? You're just a giver.
A matchmaker.
You are definitely a matchmaker. There's another story we wanted to get into today. A little bit of a local flavor here.
Yeah.
Let's just discuss body parts, shall we? Wow. What? Give me the gist here, Zepp. We've got an arrest made.
Yeah. So yesterday we were just talking about 7 ways to make money off your body. Remember that legally without selling it for prostitution. And there was all sorts of things you could sell, but this gets into one of the things you could do is sell your corpse from anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000. Why do I get a feeling I'd get lowballed on that for mine? But anyway, moving along. Yeah, Minnesota man tied into a national body selling parts ring. They would go to the Harvard morgue where people are donating bodies all the time for the betterment of science to Harvard. And these people were shopping the Harvard morgue and then mailing them all over the United States, and not for fun medical stuff. Here's that story.
A disturbing story as federal prosecutors bring charges against multiple people involved in buying and selling stolen human parts.
Yeah, the details are very chilling. Individuals across multiple states accused of stealing parts of bodies used for medical research, even stillborn babies, and selling them for thousands of dollars. One of those alleged buyers is a man from East Bethel, Minnesota. Courtney Godfrey has the details.
The disturbing details laid out in bones, skulls, skin, dissected faces and heads, and even whole stillborn corpses sold and shipped for profit. Many of those parts, prosecutors allege, landing right here on the front doorstep of Matthew Lampe's East Bethel home. The 52-year-old accused of exchanging more than $100,000 in online payments with this man, Jeremy Pauley, buying and selling cadaver parts from each other since 2018. Facebook Messenger, Pauley once wrote to Lampe, "Going to pack up your brain and heart tonight. Arm isn't here yet, but I'll send it out as soon as it arrives." Lampe responding, "Night, correct?" In a separate transaction last year, Pauley traded a fetus to Lampe along with more than $1,500 in exchange for 5 human skulls. Business records show Lampe owns a tattoo shop in White Bear Lake, now vacant. Released on bond today, he declined to comment when reached by phone. In East Bethel, Courtney Godfrey, Fox 9.
How?
That's crazy.
So, we've all got that creepy cousin, but not that creepy.
Yeah, not that creepy. Some dude I saw named in the indictment, they didn't get into too much detail. That is about as much as I read or heard there from Fox 9, that report. But another guy in Pennsylvania received some human skin for tanning purposes so he could turn it into leather.
Oh, come on.
A little human leather, a little Buffalo Bob there.
Yeah, James Gum comes right to mind.
Yeah,
Jeez,
right.
Pete.
Maybe he's just a really, animal lover and wants to save the animals.
Sure.
Could
leather,
be that.
but whatever. Suede.
Certainly could be that.
Human suede.
It's not often that you. Well, put it this way: sometimes you do need to look around and go, "It's not so bad. I don't have it so bad," or "This isn't so bad. This isn't insurmountable." I don't know. I hear that story and then I think about all the focus and the excitement over true crime in our society now. I think we're all just trying to get a little elbow room. Like we're all trying to just recognize, okay, it could be worse. We're just it's not so I'm not so crazy. I have this thing where if I'm pouring the cornflakes in the bowl, I put a little milk in, then some more cornflakes, then some more milk. It's not so bad.
No.
That's as weird as I'm going to get in a day. It's going to be okay.
What if you were getting a tattoo at this guy's tattoo shop in White Bear Lake, which is no longer open, and there was the human skull sitting there? You'd think, oh, look, the guy's got the old novelty skull there. It was a human skull.
Oh, boy, that's realistic, isn't it?
Or you would think, oh, I'm sure it's from the 40s.
Right.
It's like something, it is like, it might be real, but he probably got it from the old country doctor from back then. And now it's like, wait a minute, you got it last week? What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, we traded it for an arm.
Good Lord in heaven above.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Good Lord in heaven above.
Is it weird that I'm really hungry right now?
That's a little weird. Yeah.
Is it weird? Is it weird that I was just thinking about the fact that I read the most satisfying food sound?
Oh.
Okay, think about this. Sounds associated with food. What is the most satisfying food sound? Is anyone going to argue that it is the sound of sizzling bacon?
No. No, that's it. That'll do it. No, I'm hungry
you know what?
too.
I in my mind, when I say those words, I actually smell bacon. That's how strong the sound it impacts, and I can smell bacon. Most satisfying food sounds. Here's a list of them. Slicing a crusty loaf of bread. Really? I don't know about that one.
What? No, that sounds like nails on a chalkboard.
What about buttering toast?
Butter being spread on toast. That's nice.
There's got to be better out there than that.
Butter being spread on toast reminds me of the old commercial. Is it Edge gel or cream?
All right,
shaving
on the cheek.
With that, on the cheek, they take the credit card and run it on the cheek. What about the snapping of a chocolate bar?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that. When you get those when you want to go crazy and you buy the dark cocoa, 98% cocoa, it costs like $9. You're like, I'm throwing caution to the wind.
Right.
But then that snap, though, man, that's worth it.
You got to give it a little more than you thought you had to, and you're like, come on, snap.
Big fan of the sound of that first bite into a crisp apple.
Oh, I wish.
Yeah.
I wish I could experience that. I'm the guy that goes out and says, you know what, I'm getting apples. I'm getting apples and bananas, damn it. I'm just not getting a bunch of fried food. I'm getting apples and bananas. I'm going to eat something healthy. And then the apples sit there until they get a little rotty. And then I take a bite and go, no, it's mushy, and throw it away.
Got to eat that apple right after you buy it.
Damn it.
That's how that
Good
works.
apples here in Minnesota, too.
When I was a kid, there were always potato chip ads, and they all had like when you would see someone eat a potato chip, there was like a sound that went with like a, it was, that perfect potato chip sound. And I remember as a kid taking a bite of a chip, and that sound happened. It's like a certain amount of you're inhaling and biting at the exact right time, and it's hard to. But it happened accidentally, and then I spent the rest of the bag trying to make it happen again, and I couldn't get it. And
I got to get another bag.
Those are those moments when people in my family look at me and go, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm trying to get that sound. Wait a minute. This is for science. Give me a minute."
Yes.
That's the sound. That's it. That's it. That's man.
Tony, we're on the air.
Oh man, that's
Doritos.
Now I need that. So let's go down the list. I need what I need right now is an apple wrapped in bacon with a side of potato chips.
Candace, that computer's working now, right?
Yeah.
All right, load it up. We're all going to Al's breakfast here in about 10 minutes.
All right.
I'll be knocking that. It is Thursday, June the 15th. Good morning as the skies clear away. We talk about our pets on the show a good bit. I have a dog who's in studio an awful lot, Chauncey. Candace very famously has an appendage known as Gigi. Zep, you're pet-free these days.
Yeah, fairly pet-free.
You're a granddad for a dog, though.
Yeah. I find myself with Fry. Named for Philip J. Fry, Futurama.
Really?
Yeah, that's where that name comes from. Yeah,
that is complicated. And then Tony, of course, the grand Lulu,
The lovely Lulu.
which is
She's a golden doodle, an English golden doodle.
Okay, so we've got Fry, we got Gigi, we got Chauncey, we got Lulu. None of us would be close to taking home a prize in the greatest pet name competition that went down recently. A Minneapolis cat has taken home top honors in a wackiest pet name contest. This is nationwide votes. A cat named Prison Mike.
That's fantastic.
Named after Michael Scott's character on The Office. Prison Mike, a name of a cat, has taken home some hardware.
Do this for me.
Yeah.
Google an image of Prison Mike, Michael from the Office as Prison Mike, and then take a look at what Tony's wearing on his head today.
Oh my God, that's
you
true.
are Prison Mike.
Oh God.
Yeah, what I was struck when you walked in. What's going on? Everything okay up there? You just wanted to don the look.
I like hats. I like bandanas. I just like stuff on my head. You mock
hats.
me.
No.
I like hats. I like bandanas. I like stuff on my head.
As I went to the wacky cat name story, I thought, oh yeah, the wacky cat name story. There's a picture of Prison Mike wearing the purple bandana on his head. Come on.
So funny.
Yeah.
Some really good named pets here. Has anyone had a pet with a crazy name? I mean, I've never.
I mean, Charlie Chocolate Chip was one we had, but it was just Charlie, right? We had a story a month ago, most common dog and cat names, and Charlie was like number 5. So I was like, all right, that's not odd.
Yeah, we had a cat. We lost our cat a few months ago, Ginger. Full name Ginger Popcorn.
Yeah, okay.
But Ginger's a very standard name for a pet.
We had Schnapsy, Rocky,
I like Schnapsy.
Thumbelina, and Laverne.
Laverne's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like
Laverne's
that.
Great.
So the winners by state, the best ones here. There is a dog in Florida whose name is Maple Bacon on a Biscuit. Maple Bacon on a Biscuit. Who did that? You are a good boy. California, the dude Lebowski. That's pushing it a little. Come on.
Yeah, it's too precious.
Let's see what else we got. Scooby Moo. Interesting. Dumb. Yeah.
What about spicy beef burrito for a cat? Burrito?
Spicy beef burrito.
Burrito.
See, I like when you're not trying. See, I like Prison Mike because you're not trying too hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's great. Spicy beef burrito. It just comes in under the wire. Sir Catrick Stewart from Missouri.
Yeah, see what they did there.
I'll never recognize Missouri. Wasn't that Mr. Abe Simpson's comment? This is a good name for a cat from Georgia. Evil Twin. No explanation necessary.
That's great.
God, yeah, that works, doesn't it?
That absolutely works. Alaska cat Homeboy Thumbs. Okay. I'm digging it, man. Captain Goodboy, your Colorado winning dog name. That's a good name.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I
like ironic ones when it's like a tiny Chihuahua and its name is Brutus.
Yeah, sure. That's always good. We had a dog, the Gorman family had a dog named Rusty. He was a Springer Spaniel, but Rusty had many nicknames. We were nicknaming our own dog. There was the Stoozler, which I don't know how to spell it. And you had to say it like, the Stoozler. That's how we said, hey, here comes the Stoozler. And then it was Rusty, but my mom would call him Russell T. Baker. Don't know what that means. There was a few others along the way. But I had friends who would go, why do you give your dog a nickname?
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, see, he's the guy. He's a member of the family. Yeah. They call me Beaver. My brother Doug was Bug Juice. Later turned into Huggy, which is what only thing I've called him for 40 years, Huggy.
God, that's just one of the great names. That's just fun to say, and it's easy. Huggy. Hey,
Yeah,
Huggy.
no, it's perfect.
Works on every level, I think.
He's a well-respected, elected public servant, and when he calls me, it says Huggy. I mean, that's just who he is to me.
That's perfect. How about the exotic pets? Now, the giveaways, they don't tell us what the pets are, the exotic pets are, but doesn't every name give it away? Audrey Hopburn is
That's got to be a little hare, a rabbit of some sort.
How about Birdie Sanders? All right.
Birdie Sanders, check it. Okay, that checks the box. You get a little sense of what that is.
Lepus Maximus.
Lepus Maximus,
Frog.
Another rabbit or a frog.
Hard to say. I mean, Rabbit Downey Jr. That's a dead giveaway. Piggy Smalls.
Piggy Smalls is pretty great.
What about Spicy Queso?
Chihuahua.
Oh, I bet it is. Will Ferret, you weirdo.
That's funny.
That is good. I like that. I like they gotta give them away.
Here's a worrying trend, okay, and it has nothing to do with pet names. In Switzerland. Now, I don't plan to be in Switzerland anytime soon. My kids are past the point where I'm going to be worried about Swiss schooling, so this is not a concern in my life. However, in Switzerland, teachers are complaining because too many of their students are wearing diapers. They don't know how to use the toilet. I'm not talking about a preschool. I'm talking about school-age 8, 9, and 10-year-old children.
Q, it's the end of the world as we know it.
It really is true. And in fact, as old as an 11-year-old in a school in Switzerland is still wearing diapers. Apparently, there's a parenting trend, which is potty training can be traumatic.
What?
It can be devastating. It can upset the apple cart of family dynamics, I guess.
Being your child can be traumatic.
And thank you. With good reason, because living can be traumatic, and you got to learn how to handle it.
Yeah, right. They won't handle. Who changes the damn diaper in school?
Well, that's the point. The teachers are going, I'm not here to change diapers, man. I'm teaching 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds.
I would take it off them and just cram it in their face.
As would I, which is why neither one of us are fit to be teachers. But this is completely insane to me. And apparently also there's a report from a similar situation in Buffalo, New York. There is you hear about parenting trends, and it all comes and it goes and it bounces back, and we all come back to Dr. Spock before too long. I guess. I don't know. But I look at this, and when I think about potty training our kids, toilet training the kids, here's the great thing about at least being me, or maybe it's a dad, or maybe it's all of us. I don't remember. Once they got the hang of it, I forgot whatever it was we went through.
Yeah.
Like parenting to me, everything's a need-to-know basis. And once my kids graduated to the next level, I forgot everything that we went through to get them to wherever they had to go. And maybe that's just convenient for me. Or are you the same way? Do you remember specifically going through how to get your kid to sleep, how to potty train, how to teach them how to tie their shoes? I don't remember any of that crap. I did all of it.
Yeah, I'm sure I could be reminded. I remember the potty chair.
Yeah.
I remember having that around.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, I think television shows taught my kids everything.
Yeah. I was a very hands-on dad with little kids, but the point is you just get into some sort of an autopilot mode and you go through it, and then as soon, once your kid can look at you and say, my tummy hurts, I stopped paying attention to everything they're doing, wondering if they're in pain. Like, oh, great, you can use your words? Great. Mm-hmm. Whatever period we just went through, it's over. It's like it never happened. I cannot imagine trying to get a It is. I do know this. It's weird enough when your kid is learning how to, when you're transitioning from diapers to the potty. Try that with an 11-year-old. No, thank you. I don't care.
I mean, the pendulum swung, and I get it. Hey, listen, you grew up in the 70s and 80s. That's my experience, all right? So I can only go with that as an observation. It could be brutal. There were bullies beating you up all the time.
Absolutely.
Another parent could beat you up. Any man walking around on the street, if you were a kid, could discipline you and put hands on you, and it was 99% of the time acceptable because you're probably up to some. Teachers could do that. We lived in a brutal world. We made fun of people that were overweight. There was a lot of shaming. I get it. It was a brutal thing, but it's just swung a little. Now no one wants to upset anyone, not even your kid. If they cry, it's a bad thing. Now you got to cry. You got to get through the crying to learn how to sit on a toilet and use it so your teacher doesn't have to change your diaper.
At the risk of sounding too whatever, emotional regulation is kind of important. You got to learn how to handle your emotions, and you've got to go through those emotions in order to learn how to handle them.
Right.
It's funny when our son was born in the year 2000. My wife and I were both in our mid-30s when he was born, and my wife and I are both children of older parents who were also in their mid-30s, late 30s when we were born. So we just always had an older sensibility. Our kids have friends whose parents are 10 years younger than us. Most of them are, in fact. We're the oldest parents in either of our kids' friend groups, for sure. And then because we were children of older parents, we were from the 60s, but we were both kind of raised in 50s homes, if that makes sense. My wife and I.
Makes perfect sense, yeah.
And so my children, born in 2000 and 2002, they had a different, the house they were born into and the family we created, a little different than a lot of their friends. Like I'm 35 when my son was born, and then I'm hanging out with dudes who were 24 when their son was born. And you would think we were from different galaxies.
Oh, yeah.
Entirely in the way we're looking at things.
Did you ever get the, you're just way too out of touch? I mean, you're just a little hard on the kids?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And being like the guy in the rock band, there's this assumption I'd be like Mr. Cool, but it's like, no. Like I threw a kid out of a Halloween party when my son was 10. He had friends over, and they're all going to go trick-or-treating, and I'm giving them the ground rules for our neighborhood, which is Halloween Central, and I'm explaining, okay, Connell's in charge, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. I'm just trying to give them so that they have a good time. It's all, look, you're going to have a better time if you just pay attention to a few little things. And one kid was mouthing off and trying to be funny, and then finally I said, hey, I'm done with you. One more thing, and I'm going to ask you to leave. And then he said one more thing, and I said, all right. And I called his mom. I said, come get him.
Yep.
He's out. I kicked him out of my house.
Out you go.
And the mom was furious. And I was like, this isn't my problem. This is your problem.
Yep.
My problem's gone. Get him out of my house. I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, what kind of 10-year-old mouths off to their friend's dad?
Right. That's
not the one who hangs out at my house.
Right. Exactly. It's okay to upset them. Like you said, you've got to challenge. Yeah, exactly. Because that child that she's going to take home and say, it's not you, son. It's him. He's a mean, bad old man.
Yep.
That kid can never leave the house. You've just imprisoned your child because that kid can't go out, and because they're not going to find the lovey, understanding mom out there. They're going to find the real cruel world. Toughen them up.
Got to be done. There's got to be a little dose of reality occasionally along the way. Now, as a dad, I'm hardly perfect. I don't think any of us would say we're the greatest dad that ever lived. We all make mistakes. Sorry?
Candace has a shot.
I'm the greatest dad of all time.
You are the model dad.
I got great dad jokes.
I was curious because I've heard Tony call you daddy off mic. And I was like, what's going on here? I'm missing. What dynamic am I missing?
I got that big dad energy.
You could see a grill. She burns everything. It's awesome.
We're doing the best we can. There's a dad in Belgium. I would feel remiss if I didn't mention a guy named David Barton. He pulled a prank on his family. Prank as in, let's see, what's a good prank? I put cow milk in the goat milk jar. I don't know. Hell, what do you do in Belgium? I don't know. I put almonds in your chocolate bar. Whatever. A prank is like a little thing. No, he faked his own death.
Whoa.
Oh.
So that he could then show up to his own funeral to teach his family a lesson that he misses them and he thinks that they should appreciate him more.
Dude.
This is a true story.
Yeah. Wow.
Sick weirdo.
Yeah.
Although, who isn't curious, though, of showing up at your own funeral just to see people's reactions?
Of course.
Yeah.
But, of course, that's why they have hidden cameras.
Right.
You don't actually do it.
Yeah, but if you're doing it because you need some emotional support, because nobody misses me.
And by the way, not only did he turn up to his own funeral, he arrived in a helicopter.
Jesus.
What?
There
This
goes
is a
the
true
college
story.
fund.
I
Yeah.
think it's funny.
It's there's dozens of people in a field thinking they're at a funeral, and a helicopter lands a couple hundred yards away, and they're like, "Who's this in the helicopter?" And it's the guy they're honoring who they think is dead.
Weird villain.
And some people are relieved, and other people are freaking out on him, going, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And he said, "What I see," this is a quote, "what I see in my family often hurts me. I never get invited to anything. We all grew apart. I felt unappreciated." Well, let me tell you what happens when you do that to me. You want to feel, you think you were unappreciated before? You've crossed the Rubicon.
Right.
There's no appreciation ever again, except for my space away from you.
Have a conversation. You know?
Maybe just a chat. Hey, got a minute? I'm feeling a little left out.
Fake your death.
I'd just kill him.
What's the
We're all gathered for it. There's a hole's been dug.
Right.
Let's just stick him in it.
There's
You
a
guys
whole
are being kind
there's a
mean.
whole subplot of Arrested Development where the dad is always teaching lessons. Like he's got the friend with one arm who his arm will fall off, and they'll say, "That's why you never put your arm out the window of a car." Like, they set up all these traumatizing lessons for his children. It's one of the funniest bits on one of the funniest shows ever, and this guy's doing it in real life.
A kid got hit in traffic on a bicycle, and my dad said, "Well, that's how we end up with smarter people." I'm like, "Geez, Dad, come on, relax a little bit." Yeah.
Make no mistake, Don Gorman, big Darwinist when it comes to the human population.
Oh, yeah.
He would always say, like, "Hey, man, that's just the gene pool just jumped up a point." You know, he'd always have some weird crass comment for
culling the herd.
Yeah, there was a kid that fell off the roof of a building in our town, and he said the exact same thing. And then this is at a time when my brother was climbing water towers regularly to spray paint stuff on them. And I'm like, what are you going to say when it's your kid, Dad? You know, when we find out that, it's just so funny. Like, it's just so...
If he knows what's good for him, nothing in front of Mom.
My dad, by the way, my dad also used to say, "Yeah, beauty skin deep, but ugly goes right to the bone."
Hit every branch on the way down. Fell out of the ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down.
Gosh.
All right, I know we got to get running along here, but allow me a moment. You want to play a prank on someone? Play the prank after you're dead. I don't know if we've ever played this on the show before, but I think this is absolutely brilliant. An Irish man plays a prank at his own funeral.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard this thing, man?
Yeah, it's great.
Just real quick for those who haven't. So they're lowering the body. The family's standing around. They've got the hole dug and the whole thing's there.
And he actually is dead.
And he is dead, but he's recorded this and put it in his coffin for everybody standing around looking very dour, as you would expect at a funeral, as they're lowering the body in.
Hello? Let me out! Hello? Hello?
Funeral. Of course, he's Irish, I swear. But I love it because the people standing around are sobbing, and then they're laughing, and he goes on and on about, and then he starts to confess a few things. And that's when you pull the prank.
Wow.
That's how a dad does it. All right.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Thursday, June the 15th. Very happy to have you with us. We've been discussing today a little something called the butterfly effect. A seemingly, at the time, insignificant turn of events or a conversation or a moment in time that doesn't seem like much that later you look back on and realize, oh, that's the whole shooting match, or that's an impactful moment that I couldn't have possibly understood. We've had a ton of Facebook comments about this. A lot of those comments are also about things that were not insignificant at the time at all, but rather life-changing moments. Some of them really exhilarating, some of them terribly sad. I just wanted to say this. Thanks to everybody for sharing those thoughts. There's an awful lot of very human moments on the Facebook page. Nothing trite about it. And believe me when I say we appreciate the things that you guys choose to share with us. on that forum. An awful lot of humanity on display is the best way to say it. Life and love and joy and happiness and sadness and loss, all right there on the page. It's a very, if taken as a whole, it's just like I said, just a huge dose of humanity. So thank you to everybody who's sharing those comments and those thoughts. Specifically going back to where this all started, and like any good conversation, obviously we've gone in a million directions, so I'm not asking to hold to a certain train of thought, but it did begin with, you bump into somebody or you get on an elevator and you have a 10-second conversation that plants a seed that later leads to things. These are the sort of moments, the stories that are always so fascinating to me. For anybody that I'm a fan of, anybody that I respect, I don't mean famous people I'm a fan of, I mean people you meet in life, anybody that does the kind of work that you respect, whatever, there's always a moment that they go back to and say, it kind of crystallizes in their memory. Oh, that's when that seed was planted. So that's where this started, and those seeds have now grown into so many different things. And I just wanted to say thank you for sharing all those life experiences with us. It is not lost on us how difficult it can be to share certain things, and it means the world. Candace, right now we have a caller, I believe, who wanted to discuss something.
Deb from St. Cloud.
Deb, good morning.
Good morning, Steve, and welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. What's on your mind this morning?
Well, in 1978, I met my husband. I was standing on the street talking to a fellow that he both knew, and anyway, he drove by, honked his horn, turned around, came back, and proceeded to just sit there and visit. And he was on his way to pick up a girl, and he fast forward about a week. I ran into him again. He was in an Arby's restaurant where I was at, and he was staring at me, and it's like, okay, I know you. Why do I know you?
Right.
And then fast forward again this was in October. I had been divorced 3 weeks. I was a mother of 2 children, 5 and 3.
Oh, boy.
And he had just graduated from college, so he was only 23 years old, I believe. And anyway, I was a hairstylist, and he made an appointment to come in to see me. And I had just spent my 25th birthday the Monday prior of just boring, sad. It was the worst birthday ever. And I came in and I cut his hair, or he came in and I cut his hair, and he called me up the Saturday after. I don't know how he got my phone number. He was trying to get it prior to that. It was pretty funny. And he got my phone number, and he called me up, and he asked me out. And that was November 25th, 1978, and we have been together ever since. And he was a gift to me. He made me laugh pretty much every single day. And sadly, he passed away on the 4th of June.
Oh,
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but he was a gift. My children adored him. He raised them.
You must have gave a good haircut.
Maybe.
That was a really good one.
So 1978 to 2023, never ever long enough, but that is a heck of a good run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a very good run, almost 45 years. And so now this particular, it's not a butterfly moment necessarily, but this will change the course of my life again.
Sure it
all
will.
due to the same man.
Right. Well, that you guys were both awful lucky, is what it sounds like.
Yes, we were. We were very lucky.
That's beautiful. So sorry for your loss, Deb. Thank you for calling and sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Take care. Take care.
Bye.
Those are
sweet.
every and I sincerely hope Deb, you get a little bit more, a few more moments of peace in a day. You catch that breath a little easier. It doesn't get easier. It doesn't get easy. It gets easier, is what I'm trying to say. And that's a process of, I think it's not a process of closure, but it's just one of acclimation. He kind of, I think he left you with a little higher altitude, a little harder to catch that breath, but that will make more sense with time. So you just keep on keeping on. That's a wonderful story.
There's a lot of those, and you talk about that. We love to get wacky. I mean, that's what we do. We're just trying to distract you from the day ahead a little bit, have a little bit of fun here in the morning. But then you throw something up like that on the KQ Facebook page, and yeah, there's just a lot of, we're all human beings, trying
Absolutely.
to make the most of our time on this planet. And there's a lot of those stories on there this morning, and it's great to connect in that way.
Well, having a laugh is always good, and connecting even on stuff that's darker or sadder or just less funny and slapstick is also is as equally at least valuable in my book. So, Deb, again, thanks so much for that. We mentioned earlier Tony and Zepp, both in a way radio men, largely because of something their moms did or said. Tony, you said your mom just circled a wanted ad.
Yeah, this looked interesting. A radio station was looking for a writer. That was my first radio gig.
And you were how old?
I was just out of college.
Just out of college? Like,
yeah,
check this out. And then Zepp, thinking about going back to the Army, and your mom said, what are you, nuts?
Yeah, no, I was just flunking out of college and headed back into the Army. They know what to do with me, and I just called Mom to chat with her about it. She said, what was that TV show you always liked? You were always pretending. Mm-hmm. I said, to be a radio guy, WKRP in Cincinnati? Yeah, that's the one. Go be a DJ. Okay. And I went and became a DJ, still gutting it out. Yours was very similar, though. I love yours because it was, there I was at a moment, a crossroad in my life. Mm-hmm. Mom gave me the nudge in a fantastic direction. You had yours, you were super laser focused on what it is you were going to be doing. And then just a call out of the blue, and bing, bang, boom, your life took it was a 180, but it took a serious zag.
Yeah, my initial focus, and then the thing that I zagged from, both from almost offhanded things. Someone said, my older brother said, you should be a broadcasting major. You like sports. You got a good voice. Literally, like as if he were saying, put a little more mustard on that sandwich. It was just we weren't discussing, what should I do with my life, Doug? It was just sitting around. He goes, we got a good broadcasting school here. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. And it literally the way he would say, that shirt looks better on you than this one. Yeah. He said, you should be a broadcasting major. You like sports. You could be a sportscaster. And I went, okay. And I'm a Brit. And that was it. So then suddenly I was on my path to be a sportscaster. I was going to be, on SportsCenter on ESPN one day. And then, but in the back of my head, I'd always wanted to be a drummer. But you made this point earlier about radio. What's the path? How do you become a radio guy if you're in a small town? Well, I was in a small town. And how do you start a band? None of my friends wanted to play an instrument. No one had that mindset. But there I am, a senior in college, and I'm on my broadcasting path, and an old buddy from high school called. Later, he told me it was a spur-of-the-moment call he made. He was just calling to say hey, and he goes, man, I'm sick of school. You want to drop out and start a band? And I surprised him by saying, sure. Yeah. You know what? Actually, that's exactly what I want to do. And I did. And then it's like before, and I got out of my classes the next day, like before I could overthink it. It was just like my gut, both those circumstances, somebody said something and my gut was like, do this. Like my central nervous system lit up like, yes, green flag, green flag, green flag. And I listened and that was a good thing. So that was two very, very insignificant, but at the time, neither one of those are life. Because of course, you say I'm dropping out of school to start a band. Yeah. I'll probably be back in a year. You just don't think it's going to work.
Or your buddy gets distracted by something else and doesn't make that phone call. Just does not pick up the phone to make that phone call, and your life is dramatically different.
Even more so. And there's something else, by the way, that reminds me. Speaking of moms and phone calls, what if your mom was a lawyer and you grew up getting legal advice for free because she's good at her job and she realizes we can help you? What if your mom was cool enough to give you some advice on if you run afoul of the law? This is real audio. This is a mom / attorney offering advice to everybody's kids out there, basically, if you find yourself arrested. Check this out.
First, if you do something dumb and get thrown in jail, don't you dare call me and say, Mom, I did something terrible. Those phone calls are recorded. So many people know to keep their mouth shut to the police. But those same people confess everything on the phone to their mom. Really, particularly to their mothers. Nope, just tell me where you are and Mom will come. Second, do not keep trauma to yourself. After something bad happens to you, seek physical and emotional care immediately. Foremost for your health, but also because if you choose to pursue any legal remedy later, it's that immediacy of your care that helps with causation and is used as evidence. This will help you recover physically, emotionally, and financially in a lawsuit. Third, all kids make bad decisions. That's to be expected. But remember this dumb saying, because it's true. The cover-up can be worse than the crime. Accept the mistake, seek professional help, come to me, but do not, and I say do not, break more laws because you're covering up the first bad thing. This is how people spiral. A missed deadline can turn into a forged signature. A little debt can turn into embezzling. Whatever it is, just stop at your first mistake.
Oh, man. A little glitchy on the audio this morning. I apologize, but I'm taking notes. I'm in my 50s, and I'm taking notes going, okay, that's a good one. Don't make me...
Everybody's mom gives them good advice along the way. I remember very clearly, my mom said things like, honey, clean your plate. They're starving children. She never said anything about don't tell the cops anything, don't confess over the phone. But it really is true. Those calls, she said, all these people, they go quiet with the cops, then they call their mom and blab. It's like the phone call's recorded. They're listening. And I do also stop at the first mistake. A little bit of debt leads to embezzlement. Only a mom lawyer is going to be anybody else would be like, honey, if you borrow money, just make sure you pay it back quickly. She goes straight to embezzlement. I love it.
How many times, I'm thinking of being a little kid, trying to get out of a little bit of trouble, got me into a lot more trouble with some lies.
Of course.
Or the cover-up was always worse than the crime. And, I didn't put it together. But lawyer mom, she's thinking about it. She's looking out for all of us. I love that stuff.
Lawyer mom is keeping you safe when you get arrested, and then radio mom nudges you towards a career that's bountiful and beautiful for the two of you.
Isn't this a great Father's Day week?
Oh yeah, I forgot. It's Father's Day week. We're just talking about moms all day. Well, come on. You can sum up our dads, good and bad, much quicker. Like you said, they're not paying attention. They're just doing their thing, and you check in, and then they're awesome. But mom's got all the details. Mom knows exactly when you're going awry. Mom knows that you're making the wrong career choice. Mom knows when you've got the wrong girl on your arm or the wrong guy on your arm. They know all that crap.
And Dad knows enough to say, go ask your mom.
Yeah, no kidding.
You can't be a father without a mother.
So deep.
I'm sorry, Candace. What, are you reading a sweatshirt? What was that?
No, that just came straight from my soul, Steve.
Say it again then.
Okay. You can't be a father without a mother. There are no fathers without mothers.
You can't be anything without a mother.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I'm not sure you're
saying all life starts with woman.
Yes.
You're all a bunch of mothers.
Woman good.
Hey, by the way, today is the final day to vote for Father of the Year. I'm on the KQ Facebook page reading some of these compelling stories this morning, and I see the big post up there. Final day to vote for Father of the Year. Jim, Bob, Roger, Benny, or Jim again. And we're going to announce the winner next Monday. We're going to come back here at 9 o'clock, and I don't know, what are you talking about? Maybe some infuriating cases of hospital incompetence or the most accident-prone people in history.
It's going to be fun either way.
Yeah, I think so. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Thursday, June the 15th. Good to be with you this morning. It's always good to be with you. Tomorrow night, we're going to be on the St. Croix River. The KQ Karaoke Cruise kicks off. And we had the greatest game of KQ Aoke ever.
That was
this
awesome.
morning. Two amazing men singing. They're both going on the cruise. We were like, screw it. You're all coming along. It was fantastic. We've had a good day today already. Looking back on life and different things, there was a summer in 1986 where through the course of a few months, I had the most accident-prone period of time in my life. I had a freak accident playing basketball where I broke my right wrist and my left elbow at the same time. Two broken arms. When I got my second cast off my arm, that very day, I got a high ankle sprain. So I went right from a cast, then I had two casts, took one off. A couple weeks later, took the second one off, and then blew my ankle out, which hurt more than two broken arms. It was the worst ankle injury possible. I was limping for months after that. And then along the way, also had this weird infected lymph node in my armpit. It was a series, a comedy of errors, if you will.
I've fallen challenge.
Exactly. And I look back and I think, man, no one's ever had a worse summer in their life. And then I realize, oh wait, no, that's actually not true at all. And I'm thinking, first of all, we have a list in front of us, the most accident-prone people of all time, and these are not strangers to you. Some of these people are folks that you have heard of, like Ernest Hemingway, survived a plane crash. And then survived another plane crash. Okay, let's stop right there.
Right.
Statistically speaking, that's like winning the Powerball twice. I mean, and I know back then air travel wasn't as safe as it is now, but even from the earliest days, air travel's always been, by the numbers, incredibly safe. Hemingway was in a plane crash, and then later in the same life, another one. That is outstanding bad luck. Along the way, also in various maladies, ruptured spleen, crushed vertebrae, a fractured skull, just off the top of the list. He was apparently the Evel Knievel of writers.
Didn't spend all of his time behind the typewriter for sure. And I'll bet he wasn't buckled up in either one of those plane crashes.
Oh, God, no. Of course not. What are you kidding? He's
anyway, I don't know. The seat belts. Yeah, right.
As the plane's going down, he's like, let me tell you one more thing about bullfighting, damn it.
Probably climbed up on the plane like that, Dr. Strangelove scene, wrote it down.
Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. The inventor of the saxophone, his name was Adolf, wait for it, Sax.
Oh.
This guy's last name, S-A-X. I never knew that.
No, neither did I.
Wow. He suffered a catastrophic fall on his head once. He once swallowed a sharp pin. He fell into a fire. He drank toxic chemicals. He was thrown into a river. He was in a building that exploded, and then eventually had several cancerous tumors. None of which killed him. He was just walking around inventing horns and almost dying for decades. Apparently.
Wow. You just wouldn't want to run into him and say, "Hey, Adolf, how's it going?" Yeah, maybe you would.
Don't
just
ask.
For a crazy story.
Don't ask if you don't want a real answer.
Right.
Roy C. Sullivan.
Oh,
I know who this guy is.
Oh, yeah.
That's a name I've never forgotten. Roy C. Sullivan, a park ranger struck by lightning not once, not twice, not 3 times, 7 times.
What? Seriously? How does that?
7 different occasions the man was in a lightning strike.
Oh, yeah. If you want a good read, I read it in an old Field and Stream magazine years ago that Gramps had laying around. And it's a fascinating story, but I think one of the things I remember was that he was struck by lightning so many times. Often he would catch on fire. When you're struck by lightning, you would catch on fire.
Yeah.
He started carrying a gallon of water around with him everywhere he went. I mean, not just in the truck, but in his hand everywhere he went in case he had to put himself out.
Well, here's another question. Was he also carrying around like a radio antenna everywhere he went? What the hell was drawing so much lightning to this guy?
Put this lightning rod down. All odd circumstances, which I don't have in front of me now, but just going about his business. Now he's a forest ranger, so he's out there in it, I guess, but no reason. They couldn't determine a reason. No plate in his head from World War II or nothing like that. Just wrong place at the wrong time 7 times.
As you may be aware, speed, something as in the drug, meth, if you will, invented early part of the century, used by a lot of soldiers in World War II just to stay awake. Small doses. They'd be like, hey, you're going to be out in the woods for a while. Here's a little something to spike up. A soldier from Finland, a man named Imo Kuvinen, was in the Finnish forests fighting the Russians. Grabbed the supply of meth for the entire brigade and had it all. Enough for dozens of men. He skied away from the Russians, stayed alive. It was 30 times the recommended dosage that he took. And he was awake for a while, but he survived not just that meth trip, but the war itself.
Like, I deserve this.
Yeah, can you imagine what kind of mood he was in for about 3 days? Wow. Nuts.
3 days at least.
I thought you were going to say something like, and then he took on an entire Russian brigade and man by man killed them with his bare hands.
He certainly might have. Here's another great one. A woman named, this sounds like a fake name, Betty Lou Oliver. What a great name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Betty Lou Oliver, I worked with her. She's lovely. Her mama made great tea. Betty Lou Oliver actually lived in New York City. In 1945, very famously, a B-25 bomber crashed into the Empire State Building. This happened. An incident of note. She was an elevator attendant. She was working when the plane hit the Empire State Building. The elevator she was in suddenly dropped 75 stories.
Holy, whoa.
And she survived with a few broken bones. Wow. So you're in your elevator, the whole building shakes, you're freaking out, you hear a plane just hit the building, and then your elevator drops 75 floors.
Holy crap. Yeah, I mean, it's just, you've got a few seconds to think about it. This is going to sting.
You have a few seconds to think about it. Kind of like another World War II story, Nicholas Alcamaid, a WW2 British airman, a member of the RAF, Royal Air Force. He fell out of a plane at 18,000 feet, forgot to grab a parachute.
Oops.
18,000 feet. He suffered minor injuries when landing in a pine wood. He was immediately captured, and German authorities were so blown away, they actually presented him with a certificate.
You couldn't just let me go, you know. No, you get a certificate.
No, you're going to stay here, but while you're here, look at this beautiful certificate.
Suitable
We
for
framed it and
framing.
everything. It's pretty amazing, really. He fell right out of the sky, screaming something about the queen or the king. And next thing you know, he's telling me how to make a better sausage. It was a good deal all around. How about this? How about Tsutomu Yamaguchi? The ultimate survivor, the only person in the world officially recognized to have been in both Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Oh.
He survived both atom bomb blasts.
So he survives one, he bugs out to the next city thinking, I'll just,
I got to get out of here. Let me go see what's happening in Nagasaki. And then 3 days later, another one. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that is pretty incredible. That's walking around lucky right there.
And here I am with a couple broken arms thinking I had some sort of world record for bad summer.
God, not even close.
No, not even close at all. Here's a good one. Violet Jessup. She was given the title Miss Unsinkable. She was on board the Titanic. She survived that sinking. She was on a ship. There was a collision of the Olympic and also the sinking of the Britannic. She was involved as in on board for 3 major shipping disasters.
Old unsinkable.
Don't sit by her.
Yeah.
No, I'm not getting on she's on the boat. That's all I'm doing. Can I see the roster and looking here at the guy? So there she is. I'm out.
Yeah, that's
I'll take the next boat.
That's a pretty good, again, sometimes you just got to look at things like this to remind yourself it's not that bad.
No, right.
You know?
Yeah, no,
it's
exactly.
going to be okay. I'll just Violet Jessup my way through life. But I got to go back to Hemingway. The idea that I always think of the world according to Garp, the scene in the movie when Garp is looking at a house and a plane flies into it, know. And he says, "We'll take it. What are the chances another plane will ever hit this house?" and the idea of if you've survived a plane crash, and what are the chances you'd be in 2? Remember the U.S. air jet Sullenberger when he landed that jet in the Hudson River. Later, that's all the people on that plane. They had to get out. They waited on they're on the wings, and they're all shepherded by boat back to shore. It's freezing. It was in January or February. Some of those very passengers got on another flight that same day. Several passengers were like, "Hey, I got to get to Charlotte, guys. I got a business meeting." And they were taken back to LaGuardia, and they boarded a later flight in the same day.
I guess.
And I've always thought about that. There has to be a sense of, this next flight will be fine. I just walked off a wing in the Hudson River.
What are the odds?
What are the odds that your next plane's going to have any problems? I'm curious. Now, some of them were probably in shock, too, when they said, "Get me on another plane." Do you think you could get off that situation? Do you think you'd get on a plane? I don't mean ever, but I mean literally the very same day. You've jumped out of planes. You've spent time. You have parachuted. But I have
maybe
to
if they
think,
gave me
even
a
in that
parachute,
circumstance,
they gave me a parachute, I'd get on the next plane, man.
Yeah, right.
No, I think I'd just call it a day.
I think I would too. I'd take at least a night in the city. Well, another extra night in the city I wasn't planning.
Yeah. I'm hitchhiking wherever I got to go.
Maybe take in a Broadway show like Candace,
Call everyone I know, tell them I love them.
Theater.
Oh, I forget the lady's name and what ballpark it happened in, but you talk about your weird coincidences. She was beamed by a foul ball in the head, and so serious was the head injury, they had to put her on a stretcher and take her out of there, and while she was being hauled out on a stretcher, hit by another foul ball.
That's
in the
right.
head.
He got hit
Remember that?
again.
Yeah, Tony knows. He's heard the story.
Oh, that's
What are the odds?
incredible. You know how many games I've been to without getting a foul ball? All of them.
And you haven't been hit in the head twice?
However many games I've been to, that's how many. I'm still waiting for a foul ball. I've been to so many baseball games.
Yeah.
It's just never happened.
I've come super close. And then I think the one time I could have up the third base line, I just sort of let it go because a kid stepped up. I was like, he got his glove on. He looks at me. I'm like, you got it? The eye on the ball, man. Don't look at me. Eye on the ball. But I could have snagged it from him. But you wouldn't do that.
Push him
right?
out of the way.
We've all seen that happen. How about these guys? You guys remember the old movie Irishman? Did you ever see it? I don't know. It was a really popular movie.
The Scorsese, the Irishman from just a few years ago?
I know. They made another movie about that guy's life.
Okay.
And it was an actor that just passed away, too, that played him, but it was fantastic. But they're trying to kill him. Everybody's trying to kill him. The entire, they had like 3 different mafia families trying to kill him, and they couldn't kill this guy. I think they did eventually pull it off. But something about the Irish. I'm looking at this. 20 assassination attempts. Michael Malloy, a man from Donegal, was known to some as the Rasputin of the Bronx. He amazingly survived 20 attempts on his life in New York City by 5 different people, all trying to get money from a life insurance policy he had.
Incompetent hitman.
20 assassination attempts.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's getting away with it.
And by the way, trying to cash in on life insurance, how are you getting life insurance from the guy you're going to kill?
Yeah, I don't know. Was it back in the day that if you killed someone with a life insurance policy, you got to claim it? I don't know what was going on in New York. I'm looking at the photos. It's turn of the century.
Maybe he was a bit of a drinker and people sidle up to him at the bar. Michael, sign right here. What is it? Don't worry, I'll buy you a Guinness. Next thing you know, you got $100K on this guy's life.
Oh, dang. That's
all it
double
takes.
tough. I like it.
All right, here comes here's my favorite story of the day. We hear stories often, not very often, thankfully, more less frequently than in the old days, but this is always a possibility. And anybody who's ever been at the hospital with a newborn, you can't help but wonder, but you hear about the baby mix-up. Someone walks out of the hospital with the wrong baby. Almost always purely accidental. I mean, I'm not talking about someone stealing a baby. I'm talking about 2 babies are born in the hospital, and when the mom is leaving the next day or the 2 days later, the nurse just grabbed the wrong baby. And brand new babies, oftentimes, they look a lot alike.
Yeah, they are.
You can make that mistake. And these are just the most heartbreaking stories imaginable. This is the all-time greatest one I've ever heard. In Bogota, Colombia, in 1988, 2 women were in a children's hospital having just given birth. And when they went home a couple days later, their baby boys were switched. Okay? There was a Carlos, and then there was a William, and they went home with the wrong families. But here's the wrinkle. Carlos and William, the 2 babies from 2 different moms, were both half of a set of identical twins.
Oh.
Here's what happened. There's a set of identical twins over here. There's a set of identical twins over there in the same hospital, born on the same day. And somehow 2 of those babies were switched. So it's like twins A and twins B, they got 1 each switched. And so 2 women went home with what they thought were identical twins who didn't, as it turned out, look a lot alike.
Yeah.
But then they were like, well, they must have been fraternal twins by the way, this was not discovered quickly. So 2 women brought home 2 babies. One, you following me?
Yeah, I know, but you know how that twin connection they talk about?
Yep.
They must have been like, dude, you're not him, you're not her. This isn't happening with us.
It was discovered that these boys were raised alongside a twin who's not their twin 25 years later.
Holy crap.
These two sets of twins. So 4 boys discovered the truth when they were all 25 years old, that my fraternal twin brother is not my brother. My identical twin brother was raised with my look-alike. I mean, they switched up a pair of twins. I'm probably overcomplicaking this. It's not that difficult to get.
No. But you're in the hospital,
incredible.
so they get switched, so they don't end up at the same schools, because that would be weird if suddenly you're off to kindergarten. You're like, hey, that one looks just like me, and that one looks just like you, but that doesn't happen that way in the hospital. Obviously, they went to different neighborhoods. Did you mention how they figured it out?
25 years old. One of the guys is working in a grocery store, and a friend of his comes in. He goes, because, man, I just saw a guy, he's your doppelganger. I mean, I just saw a guy that looks just like you in town the other day. That's what started it. And he's like, oh, really? Where is he? And then, they meet, and then literally you're at 25 years old meeting an identical twin.
Oh, my gosh.
There's no getting around. Like, oh, that guy looks exactly like me. Where were you born? What day? What hospital? And the next thing you know, you've got two families completely eviscerated with what in the hell just happened in our lives.
The twins themselves, but thinking about the mind F on the parents.
Oh, incredible.
Got to go home and tell mom, hey, guess, wow, weird.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm going to need a moment to think about that.
Of course,
We'll
I'm
pause.
thinking this. What if two of them were like the greatest soccer players on earth, and then two of them were both like no account, the guy can't even add 2 + 2. You're just like, no, you can't have him back. I need at least one brilliant kid in the family. That'd be crazy.
I knew you were my twin.
Just today, I read an excerpt from a John Mellencamp interview that will be in the new issue of Esquire magazine. And for the first time, talking about his 10-year relationship with Meg Ryan. Remember, John and Meg were together for quite a while. Right. And he said, I love Meg. She doesn't love me so much. She's a great girl. I'm just a crap boyfriend. That's where he starts. But he's telling a couple of anecdotes, and he said, we were so stupid. We didn't know how to do anything. He goes, I've never checked out of a hotel by myself. She and I went to a grocery store. They wanted our credit card. We looked at each other and said, here it is. And they said, no, you have to put it in this thing. And we both thought, like, well, then what happens?
Oh, my God.
And he's speaking to the fact that, when you're a star, someone else pays for your stuff. That thing about the hotel, by the way, you can't imagine how many musicians forget how to do things or never knew. When I started touring and staying in hotels, I'd never stayed in a hotel before. I mean, I had, like, with my family twice as a kid, maybe. But you have a tour manager when you're on the road who usually checks in and checks out. Someone hands you a key and you go to your room. I literally did that for years. And then when I would and with my wife and I, when we would travel, she was on tour all the time, but still, tour manager handles all that. There were moments when we would be like, let's go on our own and do something. And we would go have a great trip. But every time I would she would say, are you going to check out? And I'd go, oh yeah, I forgot. Like it was just never a part of my normal thought that I have to see someone at the front desk to leave this place.
Take care of the details, that kind of stuff.
No, that's someone else's job.
How do I make toast?
Oh my gosh. Ellen DeGeneres had Bill Gates on one time, and she played a little quiz with him. She's like, let me play a little quiz with you. The cost of everyday items, grocery store items. She said a box of Cheez-Its, and he goes, $75?
Oh, no.
She goes, no, what would be lower? He goes, of course. He goes, $50?
Yeah, I will say this. There's always that thing. They used to do it in the presidential debates or, maybe not necessarily a debate, but it'd always be a thing of, does he know how much a gallon of milk costs?
Right.
And even as a younger, like in my teens, I'd go, I don't care. I'd rather he know what the SALT II treaties involve. I don't care if Reagan or Carter knows what milk costs.
Right.
That's not what what I think we should vote for. It was always the silliest thing to me. I get relatability, and I get that it's a popularity contest on a certain level. You've got to, you don't want some cyborg, but at the same time, I kind of do. I would love to have politicians be like pilots and surgeons. I don't need bedside manner. Just stay ridiculously focused on the things that impact our lives. How about that?
Exactly. Leave it to the DJs to know the pop culture crap.
That's what we're here for, ladies and gentlemen.
Every time I would fly, I went through a phase that I get into authors, whether it be Tom Clancy or Elmore Leonard. I went through an Elmore Leonard phase in the 90s. Every time I flew, I had to grab an Elmore Leonard book. And I never saw the movie Get Shorty, so I don't know if he addresses it or not, but he really lampoons Hollywood actors not knowing how to do things like even, pick up a tab or pay a check at a restaurant or even how to order or look at a menu. They don't look at menus. They just sit down and start describing what they want to eat.
Yeah.
And somebody will bring it to them, So
of course. Oh, no. Get Shorty's got so much great stuff. Yeah, the whole DeVito character ordering off the menu and then not even eating it.
Oh, good. They did put that in the movie.
Oh, yeah. I had one of my... I had an awful moment at Get Shorty. My wife and I went to see that movie when it came out, and it was just this bizarre. There's a scene in the movie where the one of the bad guys, a crime one of the wise guys, I meant to say.
Yeah.
And it's Dennis Farina, the
the best.
incredible, best Chicago former cop, best guy ever in a movie. He is talking to a woman, trying to shake her down to say, "Where's your husband? Where's your husband?" And she doesn't answer him. He goes, "Okay." And out of the blue, completely unexpectedly, he punches her in the face. Now, at no point in my life have I ever thought it's funny when a man or anyone punches a woman in the face. It's not funny at all. It's a jarring moment in an otherwise pretty funny movie. But I was so shocked by it, and it was so out of the blue that I went,
Yes.
that was my actual reaction in the theater.
Were you the only one?
Oh my God! I mean, even and again, even this is almost 30 years ago. In the 90s, even that was still like nobody would have laughed at that. I'm just saying, going back to like my kids would be, oh, in the 90s, everybody was horrible. I'm saying no, nobody laughed. But my response, it wasn't a laugh like, isn't that hilarious? It was just, I don't know where it came from, but I was like,
shocking. Yeah.
And not only did my wife look at me, but like 16, 17 people sitting in front of me all spun around to see what animal barked out a laugh at the sight of a woman being punched. I thought, like, man, I'm the biggest jerk that ever lived.
To protect your wife.
I'm like, I didn't punch a woman in the face. I'm sorry. I don't even think it's funny, but it's just, what are you going to do? You just gotta kind of sit there and go, yeah, that was inappropriate. Oops.
I'll never see these people again.
Oh, well.
In one of those moments.
It happens.
Dennis Farina said, "F you, you effing F-ball."
That's
that
exactly
movie.
right.
Yeah.
Another also reminds me of, okay, here we go. Another cinema moment in the life of Steve Gorman, where I'm walking out of a theater to go to the bathroom, and as I push the door, just at normal pace, I hear it. I feel the door bump up against something because it stops, and then I hear the most pain-ridden cry I've ever heard in my life. I hear a man scream. Yeah. And I'm like, what? And I push through the door, and there's a guy laying on the floor of the theater in like the pain of like he'd just been hit by a car.
And your reaction was, ha!
And I did. No, my reaction then was, what in the hell just happened? I thought,
no.
And by the way, this is the door at the back of the theater. So as I open the door, this scream happens. So the entire theater also hears a scream. And some people came to see what was going on. And there's a man writhing in pain on the floor. And here's what it was. When I pushed the door open, it bumped his foot. He'd recently had foot surgery.
Oh,
and it was like his first day out of the boot. But for whatever reason, but I just slammed a door right into this foot. And this poor guy, he was crying. He was, and he said to me, "It's okay. No, it's okay. It's not." I mean, because I felt so bad. He was trying to comfort me, like, but it would be the exact reaction if I'd shot him in the foot with a gun. And there's people in the lobby. Everyone's, "What did you do to that man?" And I'm like, I'm just trying to pee. I just pushed the door open. It was terrible.
Well, I'm don't want to be critical of the guy, but perhaps he left the boot at home a little too soon.
Well, of course.
In public, leave the boot on, man.
And he was saying, like, he was looking at me like, no, it's okay. I mean, this is me. This is a me thing. And I was like, no, this is us now. Yeah. Because I got a bunch of strangers glaring at me for bringing you down, like a Lawrence Taylor tackle.
Yeah, at least let him elevate his foot on your lap for the rest of the movie.
We did not get that far.
Oh.
No, it was pretty rough. Hey, the KQ Father of the Year 2023, that's going on still at 92kqrs.com. Our 5 finalists have been selected. Cast your vote right now at 92kqrs.com. KQ's Father of the Year 2023 will take home a brand new grill from Frattallone's Hardware, a grill kit, tickets to see Kansas on July 14th at the State Theater. You will win LPs, CDs, and KQ gear. So one of those 5 finalists is going to be loaded for bear. Sponsored by Oak Ridge Dental. Complete contest rules. And again, a chance to vote at 92kqrs.com. Shall we look back? How about a history lesson? It is June 15th, and on this day in 1976, the Houston Astros were rained out of a home game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Astros, as you may remember, back then played in the Astrodome, a domed, covered, roofed stadium. And yes, it was rained out because they got 7 or 8 inches of rain all around the stadium. The stadium itself, indoors, was fine, but all of the entrance ramps to the ballpark were flooded. Nobody could get into the building that wasn't already there in the morning. The field, perfectly dry. Everything inside the stadium worked, but nobody could get in, not even the umpires. So they had to call the game officially because of rain. 20 diehard fans actually got over the moat at a ramp. They got into the stadium, and when officials from the team found them, they were like, well, we can't even send them back out. They might drown trying to leave the stadium. So they got them. They bought them hot dogs and let them eat on the field.
Why not? Bring out the bats and balls. Let them get a pickup game going.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, go. Yeah, let them throw a few. Let them shag some flies out there. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
On this day in 1995. If it don't fit, you must acquit entered the lexicon, as O.J. Simpson famously couldn't put the gloves on his hands. The gloves he was wearing when he did, in fact, kill 2 people. That whole thing went down on this day. Amazing to think that the trial of O.J. was wrapped up just over a year after the actual murders. They expedited that bad boy. I mean, you see guys waiting for trial for years, usually.
The KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.